Today we are launching a book, Little Things, an anthology of poetry which has been curated and selected by Angelia, Poon, Lee, and Esther. Part of the joy of launching a book of poetry is not just in the making of the book, but it's also in the fun that we had in making the book. And though there were times of many problems that we faced about choosing poems and so on, I think we had a lot of fun.
And the second question that we sort of had would be, wouldn't it be nice if students could have an anthology? Rather than having a literature file or a textbook or a workbook, they actually had an anthology at home. And they could just study 20 of the poems in the classroom. But there are 80 odd poems inside. And they could pick up any of these poems as and when they're inspired to read them and really just enjoy them.
Thank you for inviting me, Esther, Angelia, and Qian. First, congratulations. This is something that's much needed in our schools, and I am very glad. I am an independent reader. I would say it's a lovely book, interesting, buy it. If I were still a curriculum specialist in the Ministry of Education, I would strongly recommend this anthology for use in school for students aged 12 and above. And now, for the right, as my response to Little Things, an anthology of poetry. Little things, big things, ugly things, lovely things, things of beauty, things of light, things that inhabit the dark, dark night, things that make me angry, things that make me laugh, little things that make me happy, like sharing a cup of coffee with a friend who holds my hand. Little things, big things, happy things, sad things. I list them all, then you will know a thing or two about who I might be inside me. Don't you think this is true? Thank you.
It's called cat apostrophe. And obviously there's some kind of a wordplay there on catastrophe. Or is it? Cat apostrophe. Seeing a bird flash by, you leap onto the windowsill. You couldn't swallow a pigeon that fat for all that you make of it. See your arctic expanse of fur belly, soft as snow, tongue scraped in surfeit and comfort. Still, beast configured and all blood rush, you think nothing of settling under a seven-headed tree in another life. The pigeon confronts with a cockeyed stare. Suddenly sheepish, you're glad for the preventive physics of glass. Thank you.
On page 55, Two Balloons by Madeleine Lee is actually the inspiration for our cover design. Actually, when Gavin and I were talking about the cover design, he had a few, but not so much the cover design, but the illustrations for the poems. He basically took the poems and he said, well, I'll work with some of the poems that I like, and we gave suggestions for some of the poems that we liked and thought were suitable for illustrating. And I think the first illustration was just Two Balloons as the title. It was clearly the title Two Balloons, but we read it together and kind of looked at it and said, I think we really want to have that little boy running away, running away from us, and that was sort of how this illustration came about.
Two balloons. Two balloons, purple and green. Nothing more than skinny air confined in rubbery skins. But watch how they fill your face with light, like dawn on the hills, the very, very first crack. But watch how they make your left cheek break with a singular dew point, there at the left corner, like the cool of a catchment of pure water as it breaks the rock form. And watch how I shall retain this as you rush rapidly towards grown-up space.
Section is entitled Going Places, and for this particular section, we chose poems that dealt with travel, but not only physical travel or acts of migration. We also were interested in poems that dealt with imagined travel, or just actually staying put and trying to imagine what it would be like to travel.
Big game. When I was in South Africa, it was to ogle elephants, rhinos, buffalo, roaming the reserves, grazing on shrub and grass. Lions too we caught lying in the shade, distant from their intruders. Counting down the season's games, ushered by sullen winter skies. Play on, I'll say, when tuned in to watch the score. Ambush, dribble, and header over those who can't stretch like giraffes. One wild game this is, for sweaty men never allowed out of the pitch to hunt their quarry of a ball.
It's called chope. The original title was Jiu, but I thought chope is slightly more accurate. Chope. Seems half the work of weddings nowadays is all about the asking. Bigger, better bangs and bucks, and every suitor sets a higher bar for better men to grace. Flash mobs and fireworks and fighter rides. It seems the shock and awe is how a bride computes your manhood, though the snazziest of suits will sink without a rock of proper size. Is it an issue of sincerity? If over coffee, talk turns by and by towards the prospect of an HD. Would it be disrespectful if I, while at a hawker stall, drop to a knee and place a tissue packet on the car? Thank you.
Thank you, Joshua. I think just to say something more about his poem, when I read this poem, I really was very intrigued by it. I love the satire and the critique on Singapore society and how we go about our marital ways. Okay, anyway, moving on to the last section on words, we found it apt to end this anthology with 12 carefully selected poems that explore and celebrate the beauty of words, language, and poetry itself. We want to thank everyone for coming down here today. We want to give a very big thank you to Ethos Books as well